Hello viewer, welcome back. Lorenzo here, episode 4 of Kerbal Space Colonization, where today we jump skip forward to some cool new base modules. Now last episode ended with me in frustration, courtesy of some ghostly modules that, well, didn't cooperate in being placed. I got it fixed off screen, although I intended to get them all the way over there, and they are now here. So you can gather how that went, and you can see some evidence here because this miner is missing a few radiators. Hopefully that won't be a problem. So, what are we going to do this episode? We're going to build stuff. This base is now fully operational. We're producing enriched uranium. I've designed a supply drop for dropping it back at Kerbin. That takes 1250 units, so that will be a while before we get there. But if we do so, we will earn $1 million. So that's the long term. For the short term, we have a contract. We have a contract to test the IX-6315 Dawn electric propulsion system landed at Val. We are landed, not at Val. I designed a simple ship to do just that, which we will build here. I've already selected it, the Ion Lander, appropriately named. It requires 2411 spare rocket parts, and as you can see, our supply is steadily increasing because we're now producing them here. You can also see it's not increasing them very fast, so we will probably be spending quite a little bit of time doing these things. And hey, once we get the money train going, we may even revert to launching a few things from Kerbin. So we'll just get this building. And as you can see, we have a few things on the calendar. This will take just 3 hours. We'll probably time warp that. Apologies for that. I hope it didn't blow out your speakers. And then once this is underway, or actually we're just going to put it in orbit because our launch window to Joule doesn't actually quite open up yet. Oops. I suppose we could try to get one from here with a little bit of extra delta V, but probably we're going to end up waiting a bit. Anyway, at some point the tracking station will complete, and then we'll build our Hunter 1 craft, which has a claw and a full range of science equipment to, well, pick out an asteroid to build our awesome asteroid base on. The other thing I designed is the Sundiver Mark II, which is designed to take a Karborundum scoop close to the Sun, where it will hopefully not disintegrate, but instead harvest this precious Karborundum. For now you can see we are time warping forward in the hope of actually doing something. It reduced by itself. We don't want that to happen. You can see actually we're making a significant amount of parts. Now this will have been 3 hours. We will have made just under 800 parts. That's actually a lot. And I forgot to mention at this point our production is following an exponential curve if all is well, because we are also producing machinery. And we're actually not producing supplies. The water resupply mission still has to happen at some point. Oh well, here we are. Let's close the alarm. Let's not finalize the build just yet because, well, it's night. I kind of want to launch this in the daytime. And we have time to spare, as was established. Let's not forget about the ion technology. We are now sending an experimental ion drive, but the drive itself won't be used because we don't have the fuel tanks unlocked yet. And we may have to actually launch the ion drive ships from Oops, the game crashed. Sorry about that jarring discontinuity. Anyway, I was saying we may have to launch the ion drive ships from Kerbin because we are producing only a very slight amount of xenon gas as a byproduct from the nuclear reactor. We probably want a couple hundred units of this, so we may have to ship that in from Kerbin after all. No worries though, that's just for the super high efficiency probes, and they will henceforth be cheap to launch. Henceforth? No, they will just be cheap to launch because they're light. They will cost money. We'll be millionaires, it will be fine. Cool, so after the crash, some time has elapsed. What are we going to do? We're going to launch our experimental ion ship. We're going to fill it up with everything we've got, sure. Let's see if that works this time. Release. You all saw it, the sliders were completely full. Let's switch to it then. No, this is switching away from it. It's all full. So let's throttle it up only very slightly. We don't want to explode this thing after all. And light the engine. we have to actually throttle it up more than just a little bit because, well, we are in a gravity well, albeit a shallow one. Alright, this is the first proper rocket lifting off from our extraplanetary launch pad, and I do apologize about the horrendous frame rate. I hope the new version improves that a little bit, but as long as we are just getting away like more than a few kilometers from this base, which we will on this pillar of nuclear fire, things should improve markedly. Now, as I said, we're not going to fly to Joule immediately unless I can like sort of magically jiggery pokery together a trajectory, which I will attempt soon. First though, let's establish a min-miss orbit. This actually takes a little bit more delta V than I had counted on. Of course, it doesn't quite take 0. It takes like 100 or so. Anyway, you will probably have seen this thing has a nuclear engine, 4 fuel tanks, of which 3 are detachable. And they are not like asparagus staged, they're just regular staged. The 3 ones feed into the center, and then it detaches, and then it becomes more efficient. Hey, we're far away enough from the uranium shop for some frame rates. Look at that, juicy frame rates, smooth rotation. And, well, let's enjoy that for a second. Let's delete, well, expand our radiators. Also, let's not crash into that hill. Here we go. So this is your basic min-miss craft, and I'm saying that sarcastically because we've never built one before. This is a nuclear engine, fuel, cooling radiators, solar panels, a suite of science, and a liquid-powered, well, a chemically powered, I should say, lander for Vol. Look at that. This is a weird orbit because min-miss just is weird like that. I was going quite fast, but completely perpendicular to the horizon. Maybe I should burn like towards the horizon. No, I should burn away from it. Should burn like this. This will make us a nice round orbit, I think. Sort of. No, it's just getting more and more horrible. Okay, this will take 1 day. That's good because, oh wait, there was still ridges. Oh, luckily it didn't crash. That wasn't a given. And let us do some science. We are now over min-miss's midlands doing science. Hooray, hooray. Because the focus hasn't been on the science so much, but of course getting science is nice because that will ultimately lead to, well, cooler parts. Temperature, gravity, and thermometers. Science alert here. Very happy with that mod. Oh, our electric charge is running out. Fortunately, we have solar panels and a nuclear reactor. Although this nuclear reactor doesn't make electricity. There's actually a good reason for that, and if you're interested, ask me in the comments and I'll give you more rocket tech science explanation as far as I can. Here we go. Let's now at least try and establish an orbit. I shouldn't need the maneuver nodes for that. I can just do it myself. We're gonna burn in this direction. Whoa! Oh, we lost control because the power ran out. That's not nice. Maybe I should have fitted a larger battery. You can see the SAS controls flickering there. Alright. Thrust, a little bit. Now we're in orbit. Yes. 12 kilometers. I think this is the most elliptical orbit you can have on min-miss. Right, let's quickly try and see if we can cobble together an intercept with Joule from here. Now this is like 3rd level complicated. We are circling Kerbin, but we're also circling min-miss, and we want to go to Joule, and we're all circling the sun. So let's not make this more complex than it is. We need to get to Joule like here. This is going to be a weird burn, and I don't think we can actually manage that so well. If we go prograde here, we will eject that way, go faster. Sorry about the endless zooming in and out, but let's, of course, not to forget that prograde here doesn't really mean so much. Here we are basically reducing our orbit. That's not good. So we want to go maybe retrograde. But then, oh god, I'm gonna have to wrap my head around this at some point, and having this fairly elliptical trajectory of course doesn't help. Now I could make things a little bit easier by going into Kerbin orbit first, But I'm not really feeling it. Oh, I'm also going retrograde. That doesn't help. So I want to go here and go prograde there. That's probably what I want to do. Maybe. Yes, now we're going somewhere. Maybe. This does not look good. Alright, lesson learned. Don't try and make your interplanetary intercept from a min-mass orbit. Don't do it. Just don't do it. So, what I'm gonna do instead is just go ahead and escape into a Kerbin orbit, which really shouldn't be hard from here. See, there we are, very wide, almost the same orbit as Minmus itself, and from there it should actually be relatively easy to get somewhere. Before we do that though, let's switch back to Minmus, not the sun, thank you very much. Hey, let's do another gravity scan as well. And we're gonna produce our next ship, which will be the Asteroid Hunter, which we will be able to leave in orbit around Minmus, probably. And we're going a little bit ahead of the facts here by doing it now, 12 days before we even get asteroid tracking capability. But I'm anticipating that we will actually need some time to refine everything. More gravity scans? Oh my god. Alright, we'll do a little bit of science before going back to Minmus. And of course, the transmitting takes forever because I only packed 3 solar panels, and I forgot that these things are really power hungry. Fortunately for that, we have time warp. We can time warp it up the wazoo. More gravity scans. Oh my, all these science things get like their own biome. We will have science until the end of days. Holy shit. And because we're so high, Minmus just rotates under us and gives us all the science we ever want. Alright, we have no science. We are now cleared to get back to Minmus by hitting tab in succession. Here we go, here we go, here we go. Let's get back to that base, say goodbye to the frame rate, switch to the uranium shop, but all we have to do is plug in the Hunter 1 or the Sundiver and just have a look at our supplies of everything. Supplies are diminishing very slowly, machinery has doubled, that's really good. Fuel and oxidizer are happily generating, rocket parts are amazing. My god, it appeared to me at first that these things were going fairly slowly, but they're blasting along. So, change of plans, we're building these things really fast. We are now gonna build the Sundiver, because that has a while to fly as well. This costs 7,000 rocket bars, but in the time that we will have spent these 6,000, which we'll just do from here for simplicity's sake, we'll now just forget about this quickly going to Joule thing. We'll just remember that when the transfer window comes back around. We'll just have to quickly make this. See, our enriched uranium is also ticking up. Machinery. Is the machinery not ticking up anymore? Do we require recyclables for that? I'm pretty sure the machinery should still be ticking up. Wait, metals is now filling up. Something has stopped producing. Let's check that out. Stop machinery, start machinery. Missing polymers. Why are you missing polymers? Polymers come from the fuel refinery. No, they come from this fuel refinery. Stop polymers, start polymers. So that should be fine, shouldn't it? Let's continue on. Are we now generating machinery again? If only ever so slowly. Oh well, we did generate like 3,000 machinery. So that's good. We are producing metals. Polymers, they come from, I think, metallic ore, maybe? They come from somewhere. Here, we have hit the bottom of our rocket part producing stuff. Maybe that's why. I'm a little bit lost why the production doesn't work anymore now. Uraninite is full. that was full like forever. Anyway, doesn't seem to matter. Rocket parts are producing. Now we can just warp towards the light and fire off that sun diver. And you know what? I'm gonna try and make this a little bit shorter episode. So after we have sent the sun diver well on its way, it's time for the next episode. Let's not get ahead of ourselves though. Let's see, we have fuel and oxidizer, because this thing is gonna need quite a bit of it. We can remove this alert. We'll finalize the build. Look at that, it has a big chemical stage for that initial push, and a Karborundum tank, which is of course empty. We'll fill it up with everything we have as per usual and release it. And we will now first separate out these engines, of course. Ooh, we are also tilting, so let's engage SAS. Not full thrust, but a little bit of thrust, and fire. We're now lifting off. This remains to be a fairly scary thing to do. Now, 8 frames per second really isn't a lot. Let's give it a quick jolt and then leave it whilst we figure out where to go. Now this is easy, we just want to go retrograde. Retrograde relative to the sun. The sun is over there, so we want to basically go left. We're going up and then left, which is, if I recall, the 90-degree heading, and I'm probably going to get this incredibly wrong, but if that happens, we can just turn around, because this thing, if I figured it out correctly, this thing has like all the delta V in the world. Let's see, first of all, let's get out of this Kraken range where the uranium shop eats all our delta V. That should almost happen. Let's see, we are now well clear of the surface. That should be going right. Hey, I'm turning left, I'm going where I wanted to go. That's pretty amazing. That's pretty amazing. So we'll wait until Apoapsis is here. No, hell no, we'll just angle towards the horizon and just give it the full beans. Because this thing has to shift like about 10 kilometers per second. And, well, the sooner we get on it, the sooner we can, well, hopefully harvest some Karborundum and somehow get back to Kerbin's sphere of influence. If we can't, we're gonna have to launch a search and rescue thing which can extract the Karborundum, because this thing, this stuff, if you look at the price list, I can't hit it, the Karborundum, that makes the enriched uranium seem like pebbles, really. Let's see, we have some solar panels, let's extend those. Also, of course, a minor detail, the Karborundum is used in like the biggest honking engines in this world, and that would allow us to really fly an asteroid to places without worrying about pesky stuff like transfer orbits. You can just point at it and go, and that would be pretty cool, I think. So we're now just accelerating over 1 kilometer per second, and after this the acceleration gets kinda dull, because, well, then we have a million units of liquid fuel to burn through with just the nuclear engine, which will take forever, and hence will be done by me off screen. But first things first, let's burn through this immense, well, come on, relatively immense, fairly sizable chunk of liquid fuel, mined from Minmus soil, refined on Minmus soil by true Kerbals of the green variety. You can see it's time to have a session where I'm not talking to you, but instead just flying the nuclear rocket. I need some nuclear rocket time. Oh, look at that, more science. And we now are sitting on top of a big alternator here. Alternator. I butchered that word. Which means we can just radio this science home, no props. And whenever we visit the VAB again, and notice we didn't even visit Kerbin once this episode, we'll have a buttload of science to spend, which of course is great. Right, we're just about exhausting our traditional liquid fuel reserves, a good 75 kilometers off the Minmus surface. Now let's see where that's going. We are not quite efficiently reducing our solar periapsis. For that purpose, let's wait 1 day until we escape. We can determine that the Minmus Oberth effect is minimal anyway. We will just separate from the space junk. There we go, separated. And now we'll have to wait a day, really. And in that day, actually, let's not forget our true mission in life. In that day, we're gonna have to switch back just for a second to the uranium shop. This is a little bit less user-friendly than the VAB, but then again, it's an extraplanetary base. A little bit of effort should be expected, really. What I'm going to do is enable the next construction project, obviously, and quickly see if we've made more machinery already. I think so. Yeah, machinery is being produced again. I don't know why that's being wonky. Probably because it's an extraplanetary base. Right, we want to make the Hunter 1. Great. That's actually cheap. We'll have built that before we even finish the tracking station. Now, do you see the power of this Minmus launchpad? We have not spent any money. We have not sent up any fuel. It's all being produced at the site. That's pretty incredible. Now, I did lose my Sundiver. Oh, here it is. The Sundiver Mark II. Look how far out that is. It's a beauty. Well, right on. Let's warp to here. Yeah, the Hunter is probably finished. I know that. In the interest of at least moving the series along at a snail's pace, I'm not going to keep on building ships and launching them until we can't anymore, because, well, let's face it, we can do that till the end of time now. We're gonna do these things, get the tracking station going, find an asteroid and start building that awesome project. How's that? I think that's cool. Right, but I wanted to warp to the sphere of influence. We'll find the Hunter completed as soon as we find an asteroid. That's now the job of these Minmus guys. This probe is on its way to find our magic fuel of the future. And hey, speaking of the future, today is Back to the Future Day. Well, not today because you're watching this on Saturday, maybe. But today's the 21st of October, and this is the day Marty McFly went to in Back to the Future. If you haven't seen that movie, maybe because you're young, maybe because you never saw it, go see it. It's a cool and, dare I say, timeless classic. What is also cool is the fact that we are now in a solar orbit. I think I just witnessed the recalculation of the velocity, which came with a jolt. Ooh, that's also a jolt. Right, let's aim retrograde. We can ask the autopilot to do so. Get a gravity scan going. And basically we want to reduce this speed to like 5 meters per second. Because we want to go really close to the sun's surface to harvest the Karborundum, or at least determine at what altitude it can be harvested. Because if this thing is going to crash into the sun, I'm going to stare at this collector and observe it until there is no more ship. And then basically, hopefully, write down the altitude at which this stuff is present. As you can see, this will take forever. I will make the course and show you after the fact. Possibly with a slightly larger sun. See you in a second. Oh, and this is also a good screenshot. Screenshot taken. Right on. See you now. There we are. Still approximately the same distance from the sun, but 5 kilometers per second slower. Marked differences is a hotter craft. Missing fuel tanks, depleted fuel tanks, but fortunately also still remaining full fuel tanks. Could have worded that better. Also, I deployed the radiators because this nuclear engine ran up quite a bit of heat. And let's see where we are. Let's take stock, as it were. We are going to approach the sun to within 166,000 kilometers. I reckon that's fairly close. Our previous Sundiver, the Icarus here, that only got to within like 1.6 million kilometers. So this is at least 10 times closer. I reckon that's a good first go for a collection pass. Now, we will of course leave this vessel until it gets there. Let's actually make a maneuver node and plan for that. Let's put a maneuver node here. Then it will be like 3 days from all the way here to here, because this is 73 days and this is 76 days. the last bit goes a lot faster, as you see. Now, let's try and orient the ship so that when we load it in here, we are in cooling configuration. This is all theoretical, by the way. I have no idea if this is gonna work, but this is a big thing. This is designed to collect solar stuff, so I'm gonna guess that this is solar resistant. Thus, the rest of the ship will hide behind it. From this attitude here, it doesn't work, but from here the sun is small, and once we circle around it, we can hopefully aim this towards the sun and keep the rest of the ship from frying. Now, the plan is as follows. We have a 1500 unit Karborundum tank. If we manage to fill that even slightly, we have to get it back to Kerbin. To Minmus, actually, because that's where our manufactories are. We have to get it back. To that end, we have some fuel. We probably don't have enough. I don't really know how much this stuff is gonna weigh. We probably don't have enough to re-accelerate to a full Kerbin orbit. But we have enough leeway. We have several kilometers per second at least. We have enough leeway to at least set up an intercept, I would say. And that would allow us to make a high-speed Karborundum getter to grab it once it screams through the Kerbin system. So that's the plan. Of course, this is going to take another 70 days to actually happen. Before that, we're going to land something on Eeloo, which is also nice. And I was thinking, because I spent quite a lot of time doing this slow nuclear burn, another place that's rumored to have this Karborundum is Jool. So I'm going to make another one of these and send it out to Jool. That makes sense as well, because we're sending stuff to Jool and we intend to send our asteroid base with colonization features to Jool as well. So there's that. So I'm going to make another one of those Karborundum scouts. I call them scouts because they're not really Karborundum vessels, as well they don't have a Karborundum drive themselves. So let's get ahead of ourselves a little bit. Say this is gonna work, and I kind of want to do more time warping here, but the game isn't letting me, and I don't know why. Why only 50 time warps? Let's try 0 time warps. Anyway, say we get some fuel, then we want to have the next generation of Karborundum miners that are actually Karborundum powered. That means a big honking fusion drive, nuclear reactors, near enough infinite delta V, and that makes getting up and down from the sun, or Jool, or wherever we're gonna find it, probably Eeloo as well, will make that a lot easier. So that's an exciting prospect. We're gonna hunt for asteroids with our hunter, which is being produced as we speak. And we're gonna hunt for fuel, and once we have both these things, I feel we can make a pretty epic space station, which will fly places and colonize them. Incidentally, if we end up incinerating around the sun with the sun diver just now, maybe we're gonna need a bigger heat shield, and I was thinking, what's a better heat shield than an asteroid? So imagine a big asteroid with a ship hiding behind it, diving into the sun for fuel and progress. Now I don't know about you, but I like that. That's a good idea. So let's get to it, shall we? This episode is almost coming to an end. What I'm going to do is basically park this hunter in orbit, which shouldn't take too long. Start off another sun diver, which will then be sent to Jool. So I will rename that, otherwise it gets confusing. And then I reckon the next episode, with the tracking station completing and stuff, will focus around finding an asteroid and scanning it. Yeah. We want to fill this up with fuel, obviously. Let's do that. I'm loving this base, apart from the horrendous FPS, and I'm doing everything at night, so that's probably not so nice for you. I'm loving this base. It's really something. I'm waiting for the moment that I'm building something heavy and this launch pad is gonna get incinerated. But for now, I'm loving this base. Full thrust. We have to get this hunter to space, and I want to show it to you because it is quite spectacular. Also, it is quite unmaneuverable. I didn't take that into account when designing it, that I probably was gonna have to maneuver it. That may sound stupid, but then again, I am a Burke. This thing, I think this thing is the definition of bristling. I've never built something that bristles more than this one. Let's just deploy the solar panels now that we can, and that will ensure it's not running out of fuel. Can you see it bristling? It has literally every instrument I have available. I don't quite know which one is the asteroid scanner, so I brought them all. I have planetary cameras, I have planetary imagers, I have carbonite scanners, I have regular science equipment, I have survey antennae, I have regular antennae. I have brought the lot of it. And hopefully this will allow me to actually scan an asteroid and tell what's on there. If not, I'm gonna have to come up with something else, which is gonna be strapping miners to a probe and just trying to mine the asteroid. That should work. I didn't do that here because those mining drills that are currently mining away at the base, they are hella heavy. And we are not in any kind of orbit yet. Also, this thing was just maneuvering horrendously because there was no FPS. This maneuvers just fine. I do need the RCS to maneuver. I could have maybe sprung for a reaction wheel here. I'm regretting that I didn't. Anyway, when the fuel starts running out, this will all get a lot lighter and better. Anyway. We have 3 side tanks. They are draining, but we're not gonna separate them. Wait a second. Come on, is this just not controllable at all? There is no control authority apart from RCS here. Alright, I'm an idiot. RCS runs out, it's not infinite. Alright. On to the apoapsis. I apparently do not have time warp authority anymore, so let's give me time warp authority. So this asteroid hunter is a little bit gimped. Then again, we're just gonna visit an asteroid. We're not gonna do any space acrobatics, so I suppose we don't really need top-notch maneuverability, but still, I kind of did expect a little bit better from me. So now that we are in orbit here, let's actually get into orbit before saying so. Orbit established, yes. Well, 24 kilometers, not that high, but will do. Let's test drive some of this equipment. Let's deploy the scanner. What does this do? Ooh, it tells me minerals, metallic ore, substrate, uraninite, water. Yeah, this is good. This is good. Now hopefully this also works on asteroids. I don't know if it does, because technically asteroids aren't a celestial body, they're like a part. So we're gonna have to see about that. It has a GUI. Alright, we can make a map. I don't care about maps. Alright. There's that one. The M700 survey scanner. What does this do? Orbital survey. Ooh, you need to be in a polar orbit between 25 and 300. That's useful, but we're not gonna do that today. What do you have here? A surface scanning module? We're too high to scan for ore. Right, this is just ore. Less useful than I thought. This here, the magnetometer, it scans for metal ore. I don't care about metal ore, I've got uranium. I get a creeping feeling that this thing may not have been as useful as I thought it would be. Let's see, carbonite, surface ocean, Atmo, and exo. Unknown average, unavailable, suboptimal altitude. Start resource scan. Alright, alright. I'm suddenly less than fully hopeful on the finding an asteroid with resources on it. We may have to go and slap some drills on it and just see what comes up. But we're gonna try nonetheless. So I think that's gonna be it for this episode. So what I'm going to do off camera is make another Sundiver and, well, basically just prepare that for launch to Joule together with the Ion lander. And then after that we can spend next episode focusing on hunting asteroids. Yeah, let's do that. Alright, I've been Lorenzo. Thanks for watching. Follow me on Twitter and the Steams, which are below this video, and you will get updated and stuff, and it will improve your life markedly. Thanks for watching. I said that already. See you next episode. Have a nice weekend. Goodbye.